All right, I see we're now live. So welcome everyone to the McDougall Council meeting, January 20th. As a result of the declaration of emergency issued by the Municipality of McDougall for the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as requirements for social distancing, this committee council meeting will be held electronically in accordance with Section 238 of the Municipal Act 2001. I would ask the clerk now take a roll call to determine quorum and advise who is participating in the meeting today. Mrs. West.
Mayor Robinson.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Constable.
Present.
Councillor Gregory.
Present.
Councillor Malott has not yet joined us. Councillor Ryman.
Present.
It's determined that we do have quorum to proceed with the meeting. I'll now take attendance of staff to advise who is joining us. Tim Hunt, CAO.
Present.
Chief Leduc.
Present.
Aaron Robinson, Treasurer.
Present.
And myself, Lori West, Clerk.
Thank you. And I'll call the meeting to order. Any declarations of interest? Seeing none. Prioritization of the agenda. No changes. Adoption of minutes. Moved by Councillor Constable, seconded by Councillor Ryman, that the minutes of the committee council meeting held on December 16th, 2020 be adopted as circulated. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? It's carried. Deputations, none scheduled for tonight. Item 6, planning and building. Mr. Jackson, Prairie Sound Area Planning Board. I'll put the resolution on the table for that particular item. Moved by Councillor Malott, seconded by Councillor Gregory, that the Council for the Corporation of Municipality of McDougall has no objections to the approval of consent number B40 2020 McDougall as applied for by Gary Crawford on part of Lot 26, Concession 8, Geographic Township of McDougall, now the Municipality of McDougall, subject to the following conditions. 1, that the Municipality of McDougall confirm the proposed lots have suitable driveway locations. 2, payment of the required fee in lieu of parkland as set out in the municipality fee bylaw. Obtain 911 addressing. Any portion of Lake Forest Drive that encroaches 10 meters from the center line of the road and applicant's lands be conveyed to the municipality. Item 5, payment of any applicable planning fees. Discussion. Mr. Jackson, anything to add to this?
I don't think so, Your Worship. It's pretty standard. We've done 2 or 3 of these, and these lots on Lake Forest are in accordance with the planning instruments. So they are all the correct size, and we're obviously seeing strong demand for these kinds of new lot creations in the municipality.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or further comments from council or from staff? Welcome, Councillor Malott. I understand you had some technical difficulties. Glad you made it in. So no further comments. Anyone? I'll call the question on that resolution. All those in favor? It's carried. Item 6.2 from the Prairie Sound Area Planning Board. That resolution on the table. Moved by Councillor Ryman, second by Councillor Constable, that the Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of McDougall has no objections to the approval of consent number B42 2020 McDougall as applied for by Derek Brown on lot 9 and 10, concession 3, Geographic Township of McDougall, now the Municipality of McDougall, subject to the following conditions. 1, that the applicant apply for a zoning bylaw amendment and that the holding H provision be removed on the severed lands. That the applicant undertake a water quality assessment prior to the removal of the holding H designation on lot 9, concession 3 as set out in section 15.02 of the municipality's official plan. 3, that the applicant enter into a 51 paragraph 26 agreement to recognize the private access to the subject lands and to establish the standards of the private roads and to indemnify the municipality for the private road use. Item 4, that an EIS be completed to determine the appropriate location for the proposed right-of-way. Item 5, confirmation of the municipality that the proposed right-of-way location has suitable sight lines from the Haynes Lake Road. Item 6, payment of the required fee in lieu of parkland as set out in the municipality fee bylaw. Obtain 911 addressing and payment of all applicable planning fees. Anything to add to this one, Mr. Jackson?
No, just to thank Lori, your worship. We originally received this as a right of way, so we missed the fact that there was going to be a separation of one of the original township lots. And when she caught that, she also caught the fact that the lands were within the impact area in the policy of the official plan. So she's correctly added the conditions there to lift that H, which reflects a 1 kilometer impact area around the landfill. We're not suspecting any issues because of the treatment of it since it's understanding, so it's all fine. So these will just be normal kinds of assessments associated with lands within 1 kilometer of the landfill. So unless there's questions, I think it's properly conditionally proposed to be approved.
Any questions from council or further comments from staff? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? It's carried.
Thank you, your worship. I guess I can be excused.
Yep. Thank you. Have a good night, Mr. Jackson.
Yep. Thank you.
Matters arising under planning or building? Done. Item 7, bylaw enforcement. No report. Any matters arising?
None, your worship.
Thank you. Item 8, fire protection. Matters arising. No report. Any matters arising? Mr.
None, your worship.
Thank you. Emergency management. 9/1 COVID emergency response. Declaration of emergency. McDougall is still under the state of emergency that I declared back in the spring. Any matters arising in emergency management? None. Recreation, item 10, first one. This is a carryover from our previous council meeting from the Director of Parks and Recreation, Meadowcrest Park. Discussion here was regarding the beach in that subdivision in terms of its remaining with just its current use, which is as a beach only, as the permits allow it to be used for. There was a suggestion from staff that may want to add a boat launch to it. I think council seemed to have weighed in pretty clearly in the last meeting, but we did carry it over to this meeting. So at this point in time, I'll open it up for comments to council. Councilor Ryman.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening. I was just wondering, at the last meeting, we talked about the only boat launch to, I guess, where Portage could be accessible is the off of Mill Lake, I guess, if you will, at the culvert. And where I guess if a boat is launched there, you'd have to go through the culvert and you're subject to the water devils. The question has probably been asked before. Are there any other spots on Portage Lake where it's possible to look at boat ramps? I was going to go on the GIS, but I couldn't. I was just wondering if there are any other spots available.
Your question for future potential boat ramps or boat ramps right now?
For future potential boat ramps.
Mr. Hunter, Mr. Leduc.
I can do that one. Right now, Councilor Raman, I'm not aware of any potential lots that the municipality has access to. I don't really know if there's any 66-foot right of ways down the lake that we would have access to that would be suitable for a boat ramp. The only piece of land that I'm aware of that we have on the lake is where the park is now. So other than where we are with the beach now, I'm not aware of any other properties for us to access the lake on.
Thank you.
There was a former ramp at one point off Pine Ridge, I know, right at the culvert there. Is there anything existing there at this point in time?
Well, there is still some access there, but it's really for like aluminum boats. You might make an aluminum boat in with like a 20 or 15 or something on it. But to get the size of boats that they want to get into the lake, it's gonna be pretty tough there as well, because you still gotta go in on the north side of the culvert where the ramp is, so you gotta go through you'd have to go through the Pine Ridge culvert to get to the lake anyway.
Thank you. Any further comments? Questions? No, I know the issue did come up about the existing culvert that you come through from Mill Lake into it in terms of the beavers damming up in that. And I think that was already well established by us that that's the responsibility of the railway to make sure that that's kept clear and open, because they put that in after that was established as a navigable waterway. So I believe that put it clearly in their court that they're the ones that have to keep that beaver dam and debris cleared out of there, so there is access back and forth. Am I correct on that, Mr. Hunter, Mr. Leduc?
Yes, you are correct on that there. The CN is very clear who's to maintain that, and we've actually been asked to stay out of their property in their zone, so they are responsible, and they have been keeping it open pretty good.
Okay. Councillor Ryman?
Thank you, Worship. Just a question. At that site, I don't believe there's any dock or anything. Would that be something that we would look at, or is that even our property to do so? Thanks.
Through me, I guess, to Mr. Leduc or Mr. Hunt. I believe it's just a boat ramp only there at that point in time for launching a boat, but Mr. Leduc?
Your worship, the spot at Portage Creek right now off of Highway 124, it is municipal property. There is no dock there, so there's really no encumbrance for us that we couldn't put a dock there if we required to, because it is our property.
Okay. All right, I'm not seeing any of their hands in the air, so at this point in time, I guess, because this isn't a resolution, it's just direction to staff. So currently it is established as a beach. I've spoken out in the previous meeting about leaving it as a beach. My position hasn't changed on that. I'm not hearing any comments from anyone else. I guess by show of hands, how many members of council are in favor of leaving it status quo at this point in time? 3. Okay, opposed? Is Councillor Constable? All right. So at this point, the majority of council carries it, and it will just remain exactly the way it is, as a beach on Meadowcrest. Enough direction, Mr. Leduc?
Yes, it is, your worship.
Thank you. Item 10.2 from the Director of Parks and Recreation, George Hunt boat launch. This discussion was also brought forward from our December 16th meeting of council. The issue with the boat launch was through 2020, we had restricted the use of the parking and the launch to McDougall residents only. So that's the status of it at this point in time. There was a suggestion made to open it up early season until the middle of May or whatever the date was on that, to anyone to use, and then have it just McDougall residents from the middle of May right through until I believe sometime around the middle of September doing it, or leave it as the way it is right now, which is access to McDougall residents only. I'll open up the council for discussion or comments. Seeing anyone, so I guess I'll just ask for a show of hands, and those in favor of leaving it as is, that it's McDougall residents only all year round. All right, so then and I'm agreeing with that too, so that makes it unanimous that it will be. Now, I think I spoke to this a little bit at the last meeting, but I think it's, although there's not much use of it early season and late season, I think it's just sends a confusing message out to everyone, having different dates and trying to remember when you can and when you can't. And I think that puts a little bit more onus on our bylaw officers as well. So I think it's, in some cases, it's better just to keep it as straightforward as possible. Anyway, that's direction to you, Mr. Leduc, new department, in terms of it will be McDougall residents only for the use of George Hunt for 2021. That's enough direction for you? Looks like it. Item 10.3, report of the Director of Parks and Recreation, general update, Mr. Leduc.
Your worship, this is with regard to the McDougall Recreation Center. Now, obviously, since the date I issued that report, things have changed on the operational front, but just to give you a bit of a background, So over the Christmas holidays and leading up to Christmas holidays, we were having a very difficult time trying to establish a safe ice for opening due to the inconsistent weather that we were receiving. Further to that, we actually had enough thickness to have safe ice that we opened on January the 10th. However, we were only open for 3 days and we had to close on the 13th because of, again, warm weather set in and the ice wasn't usable. We worked diligently after that period to try and reestablish our safe ice. However, we didn't get that opportunity because the North Bay Prairie Sound District Health Unit Medical Officer of Health ordered all outdoor rinks to be closed for the duration of the stay-at-home order. So where it stands right now is that now that we've received cold weather again, we are rebuilding our ice so that we will be able to open at a moment's notice as soon as they lift the order. The only other item that came to our attention is that with regard to the restrictions, whether it was in green zone or gray zone, orange or yellow, depending on what the number of persons that could be on the ice and or the types of activities. So in the gray zone, it did not allow for any team sports or games to be played. Thus, during the hockey period, the persons would be required to individual, shoot the puck around and stuff, but they could not organize any games of shinny or any hockey games. That would be against the order. We, for the number of days that we were open, we were experiencing people not complying with that after 8 o'clock at night when there was no staff present. And so we had made the decision that we were going to close the 8 to 10 p.m. hockey time because we weren't able to staff it at that time to supervise to ensure that the orders of the province were being complied with. However, that's right now a moot point until the reopening of the stay-at-home is lifted.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments on Mr. Leduc's report? It may come under this, I guess, in terms of new business. I have received phone calls and emails regarding the rink being closed, which was by the health unit, and the snowmobile trails being closed, which is by the health unit as well. I would like to ask council if you would authorize a letter on behalf of the municipality to Dr. Chirko and the North Bay Prairie Sound Health Unit, just requesting that they not apply that rule to outdoor rinks and to the snowmobile trails. To me, I just don't see how that is putting us at risk. I understand we don't want people traveling from other areas, but we're restricting our own residents from having the few opportunities they do have to get outside and enjoy some healthy activities with their close family. Social distancing is certainly easy to accomplish in both skating, if we limit to 10 or whatever the number is at the skating rink, and certainly on a snowmobile trail, it's quite easy to limit your group size. Realistic. So I would just ask if council is okay, or if you have any comments on that in terms of us sending out that request. I know we made a previous request to this health unit in terms of giving us more detailed information on COVID cases in our area. Understanding we don't want to violate anyone's privacy, but we would like to have information. That fell on deaf ears in North Bay. I don't know how much hope I have that this will do any more than that, but I know there are online petitions and a lot of other correspondence going to the health unit on this. So I would like to add our voice to that. So I'll just ask for comments or support from council. Councillor Constable.
Yeah, I would wholeheartedly support that. I've been in contact with lots of families who are really frustrated, just want to get out with their family outside and do things. And, it seems we keep taking away, and, people need to get out. They need to be active. They want to be active. And I just don't see this helping very much in any which way. So, no, I would definitely agree with that.
Okay, so I'm not seeing any opposition to it. So then we'll have, Councillor Gregory. Oh, you're muted. No. So if there's no further comments, then I'll,
Yes,
Uh,
Matt, sorry,
sorry,
it's okay.
you had
Um,
comment?
Yes, it's a comment. I agree with that, but I was also wondering about the ski trail. Is it supposed to be closed or open, or do we know?
My understanding is it's still open for members only, unless someone has some more up-to-date information than that. I'm not sure. Or maybe it is closed now. I don't have any direct knowledge of that unless someone else does.
No.
We can ask that, and we can add that to our list too if we find out that it has been caught up in the same edict from North Bay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so I'll take that as permission to draft up that letter and have it sent out under my office to North Bay. Thank you. Any other matters arising under recreation?
None, your worship.
Public Works, no report. Any matters arising? Environment, Waste Management, no report. Any matters arising? I've lost the video from the council chambers. I'm not sure if. Okay, I'll have back.
There we go.
There were no comments on those previous two matters then?
Other
The
than that,
council chambers? No, all right. Finance, accounts payable resolution. Moved by Councilor Gregory, second by Councilor Malat, that the attached list of accounts payable for January 14th, 2021 in the amount of $206,954.67 and January 20th, 2021, the amount of $200,117.25 and payroll for December 31st, 2020, the amount of $54,160.93 and January 14th, 2021, the amount of $72,166.50 be approved for payment. Discussion? Call the question. All those in favor? Carried. Item 13.2 from Cammie Johnson, the administrator at Belvedere Heights, regarding the 2021 municipal levy. Not sure if the treasurer wants to speak to this or our representative on Belvedere. I see it's a reduction, which I think we had been advised was probably coming forward. Mrs. Robinson?
Sure. And reduction in the 2021 levy. That's always really nice to see. So far, we do have most of our other levies in. I'm still waiting for a few of the larger ones to work further on our budget. However, this one has been presented to us, and we'll be using these figures in our budget this year.
Okay. Thank you. I know you have a report coming forward later in the agenda, Councilor Gregory, on Belvedere. Item 13.3, OPP. Calls for service billing summary report from October to December 2020. There for information. Anything to point out on that or comments? Councilor Ryman?
Thank you, Your Worship. I just like to point out, I know there were some issues with regards to the 911 hang-ups and pocket dials and drop cell and so forth and so on. And I see that that has dropped significantly since we put the word out that that was happening. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out. I think it's good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Item 13.4 from Steve Clark, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, the Safe Restart Agreement funding. What's the significance of that to McDougall, Mrs. Robinson?
Thank you. So we have received the $20,000 additional funds for COVID relief. The agreement has been signed and sent back to them. Currently, I'm doing our reconciliation for year end to know how much we will be transferring into 2021. At this time, I do believe it will be a considerable transfer that can be used in 2021. And we will use those funds to help offset some of the costs of the COVID expenses.
Okay, thank you. Any matters arising under finance? Mrs. Robinson.
Thank you. Quickly, we're just working on budget, year-end reconciliations. We have scheduled our audit for this year. It is in the middle of March. I'm assuming it will be an online audit again in electronic format with our auditors with KPMG. And we will be sending out our T4s quite soon, as well as we're working on some of the year-end OMERS reconciliations at this time.
Okay, thank you. No other matters arising under finance. Then we'll move to administration. Item 1, Todd Smith, Minister for Children, Community and Social Services, building a strong foundation for success, reducing poverty in Ontario. Item 14.2 from Alicia Clark, Committee Chair, Absolutely Georgian Bay, regarding the Absolutely Georgian Bay pilot project. Any questions or comments from council on this? I'll just comment. I think we have a lot of groups working, the Chamber of Commerce, the economic development, but I know through all of that, in my involvement, tourism has been, it's big for this area, but it's never been a key part of those other groups in terms of what they're doing. And I know we do access funds through RTO 12, I think, or 10, whatever the number is, for doing it. So this is this group at this point, they're just reaching out, asking if we're interested. There's no specific ask at this point other than whether we would like to be involved going forward. So I don't think there's any specific decision to be made by council at this point, other than I would put my support behind staying in contact with this group at this point in time, as they do they're doing a lot of the heavy lifting themselves right now. Hopefully there's some funding from the RTO tourism for what they're doing. So if council is okay with it, then we'll just respond to them that we are interested in what their group is doing and want to keep the lines of communication open, unless there's further direction from council at this point in time. Okay, thank you. In the Westbury Sound municipalities, letter of the Honorable Jeff Urick, Minister Environment, Conservation Parks, Westbury Sound Blue Box transition year, comment on the draft proposal ERO 0192579. Staff member that wants to speak to this.
I can speak to that.
Mr. Hunt.
Okay, all this letter is a request to the minister that the West Parry Sound municipalities transition a year earlier than they've scheduled us. They've scheduled us to do in 2025, which is 2 years behind everybody in the south. So there's a bit of a worry that the contamination rates for recycling in that 2-year period will become expensive for us, because if there's any contamination in the load, the whole load gets written off and you get charged for it. So we're asking that the minister bring us up at least to 2024, so we're only a year behind, which isn't so bad, because I think there is going to be some, some transition forgiveness there as well. So all we're trying to do is just move this transition up 1 year. And the West Parry Sound municipalities are trying to get a group together to address the minister at the OGRA meeting coming up in February. So it seems like a long time away, 2024, 2025, but it's going to come quicker than you think. So we're just gearing up for this program. The program at the end of the day makes the producers responsible for the costs of recycling. It's supposed to be 100%. I don't know that that's going to be actually what happens, but at least they're going to help pick up some of the cost here and take some of the, give us some relief on the recycling cost in the future. So it's going to be a long process and it's going to be a long road. So it's going to be interesting to see how we get through these transition periods.
Is there any requirement of action on the part of council at this point in time? I think we already gave our support behind moving our year from 2025 to 2024.
Yeah, no, that's correct. So that there's no other request from council at the moment, other than some support from council to approach Minister Yerk at the OGRA, and Councillor Ryman has volunteered to sit on the board on municipality's behalf at the OGRA meeting.
All right. Thank you, Councillor Ryman. Next, item 4 from Jason Bopari, Director of Ministry of Transportation, on-road opportunities for off-road vehicles. Council, I'm sure had a chance to read through all of this. Basically, we did enact our own bylaw, I believe, in terms of allowing off-road vehicles onto our municipal roads. So I don't think this has very much impact on us, other than it probably just reminded me, I guess, that the only section of McDougall that we didn't allow off-road vehicles was one short section of McDougall Road. And at the time, we had some concerns about heavy truck traffic coming out of the pits first of that. But I have received over the last couple of years, a few requests from people saying that it's kind of, we've cut off a link there by not allowing off-road vehicles. And I don't know if it even gets enforced that you can't be on there with off-road vehicles, because probably there's no signage for it, I don't believe, and there's nothing. But I would be in favor at this point in time. There's not that much off-road ATV traffic anywhere, even inside the town of Perry Sound or in McDougall, that I see since we've opened our roads up. So just to make it simpler, I would recommend that we revisit our bylaw and just open up that last little section for ATVs going through. I think they can be safely transit through that area without getting involved with the truck traffic that's there. And I don't think there'll be very much ATV traffic through there anyway, but it is sort of that one piece that we didn't open up at the time, so we could see what was going on. So we don't have to deal with that tonight, because that'll be a bylaw that would have to come forward unless there's some comments from council at this point in time as direction to staff. Obviously, if there's not the support of all council, there's no use having our staff do any work on this. Council, you okay with having the staff bring that bylaw back? Okay.
Yep, good.
All right, so we'll give it this direction then. Item 5 from Ann McDermott, Mayor, Sigmund Township, transportation in and around West Perry Sound. Just a request. There's a group that have been working in terms of transportation system, and they're asking for, at this point, they're asking for us to support in terms of a survey or questionnaire to go out. I know we don't want to, I'm hesitant to add anything into our tax billing, because I know one extra letter adds thousands of dollars in terms of postage when we do that. But I certainly, personally, I haven't heard any requests from anyone in terms of that in McDougall, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist out there. So it's a good idea, I think, to ask. But I was going to suggest if we could maybe just through our website and maybe just in the newsletter that goes out with the tax bills, just draw people's attention to it. And then they can go in and do that questionnaire, so we can have some feedback in terms of if there is a need for this transportation system. Council okay with that? And that, I guess I'll put it back to staff now that I've stuck my neck out on that. Is that an issue to have it added as part of a newsletter? Is there a newsletter going out with the tax bills, and is it an issue putting it on our website? Mr. Hunt?
We haven't done a winter newsletter for a while. We usually do the summer one, but we can absolutely put in a newsletter in if that's council's wish, and we can add it to that.
Okay. And with that one extra piece of paper, then the newsletter add anything to our postage cost for the billing?
It's minimal, I think, at this point, if we're going to send out a newsletter. So,
Mrs. Robinson?
The interim post bills are prepared by an outside printer.
Oh.
So the outside printer stuffs the post, prints them, stuffs them, and ensures that the dump tags are stuck to the post bills, the bills themselves. At this time, I don't have the cost for an extra item in that mail out. So I could get back to council what the extra cost would be to add another piece of paper and to have it folded and stuffed along with the tax bills.
Okay, we have time then. We have one more council meeting before that, those tax bills go out.
The tax bills are being sent to the printer on, I believe it's Monday, February the 8th.
And our next meeting is February the 3rd.
Okay, it's kind of a short turnaround time. Maybe I'll put this in the hands of staff then. You've seen the ask from Mayor McDermott and Sigwin. If you can just find some way for us to economically get that questionnaire out, even if it's just a matter, I know if we just list it on our website, that's not going to be enough to draw people to our website to look at it and see it. But if you have any ideas, I don't want to, a few days before your mail out, start scampering around to do a letter or something to put in there. So anyway, I'll leave that with staff. I think you can get the gist of what we're looking for here. It's just a way to get this questionnaire out and ask people about their transportation needs, if they're being met or not being met. Because I think it would be useful information. So, but if it's cost prohibitive to do that, then leave it alone. So anyway, we'll look for a report back at the next council meeting. But by all means, reach out in terms of if there's something, action that's required by council before that next meeting.
Okay.
Matters arising. Request for support. I'll run through these. I'll just be watching as I go through these for council hands to go up in any particular one in terms of your request to support these requests for support. The town of Amherstburg, development approval requirements for landfills. Municipality of Charlton and DAC request the province of Ontario to review AMO's recommendations regarding municipal insurance rates. Town of Carleton Place request for the government of Ontario to prioritize childcare and childcare funding as part of the post-pandemic recovery plan. Township of Perth South and Southwest Middlesex request to address concerns regarding drainage matters and the need for coordination with national railways. Township of Matachewan request for longer timeframes for grant application deadlines. I would think that's not a bad, I don't, Councillor Ryman? You'd like to support
Sorry,
that?
well, I just would, I guess I was going to add that I myself would like to support that resolution, because we all know what it's like when funding applications come up and they want material within 3 weeks or whatever. So I would be, I'd be willing to support that resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll bring it forward to the next council meeting. Town of Lincoln, City of Hamilton, support resolution from the City of Hamilton requesting for interim cap on gas plant greenhouse gas pollution and the development and implementation of a plan to phase out gas-fired electricity generation. Matters arising for request for support. Seeing none. Item 16, motions of which notice has been previously given, haven't been made aware of any. Committee reports, 17.1. From the board chair, Councillor Gregory, Belvedere Heights. Councillor Gregory, mute. There you go.
There we are. Thank you, Your Worship. Just, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's just that I hadn't sent a letter around for a while and there were a number of things that went on. Belvedere is in a pretty good state at the moment. They've worked very hard to maintain a nice, clean establishment with no cases. Even when you hear the comment lately in the news about an outbreak at Lakeland, don't forget that's only one staff member. So even just one staff member testing positive, even asymptomatic.
You froze up on us.
It's declared.
Nope. I got everyone frozen.
No, just you heard, yeah.
No, just you. Okay. Anyway, any other questions about what's happening at Belvedere? Okay. And I'm just my words of information that that I talked to you about before our meeting. And that's it. Okay, we're in the process of negotiating a management contract with West Parry Sound Health Center. It's worked very well for a consulting agreement at this point, and I think it'll probably work very much the same. It's been really good for Belvedere. The new administrator is improving a lot of conditions We're bringing in a new reporting system that won't be so complicated, and it will hopefully increase that CMI. The CMI dictates how much money we get from the government, and it was too low before, so we're going to bring it up. Hopefully we can reduce the levy again. That's it.
Very good, thank you. Any questions, comments? Just noticed a news item today saying that all the long-term care homes in Muskoka Simcoe have all had their vaccinations to their staff and to their patients.
Mhm.
Where do we stand in Parry Sound between Lakeland and Belvedere? And just, I assume we're not at that state, or we would have heard about that. I'm just wondering why there's that difference between Muskoka, Simcoe, and ourselves.
I would think it's because we're fairly low risk and we haven't had any cases. So we'll be one of the last, I think, to be immunized. It's supposed to be this next couple of weeks.
So you have a timetable for it then for? No.
It's not a definite timetable yet, no.
Okay. Thank you. All good news though.
Yeah.
Good. Item 2 from James Chirko, Medical Officer of Health, North Bay, closure of outdoor public skating rinks and tobogganing hills. Notice there, we've already discussed that. Also from the health unit, outbreak at East Home for the Aged, COVID-19 outbreak at Lakeland Long-Term Care, which Councillor Gregory has already pointed out was one staff member. From the health unit, COVID vaccine update. And from the health unit, issuing COVID-19 class order section 22. Anything else under committee reports? Councillor Constable?
Yeah, just last week we had a meeting, the DSAB, and the DSAB, in an effort to save some money, has leased some of the rooms at the Midtown, which is a really good thing, and especially since quite a few of the different agencies in town have stepped up to come alongside DSAB with this endeavor to offer their assistance as well. And that includes the ambulance, their paramedic program, where the paramedics go to non-emergency places to assist. They'll be helping with that. The health unit is providing some help. We're getting some addiction services help as well. So one of the problems we had, it wasn't our facility, but River Street, before it burnt down, is it was a private citizen, or a private person had owned it, and it was very unregulated. So a lot of things were happening there that were just, I would say, negative impact towards the people that are there. Whereas here, everything's going to be very much a lot of involvement there. So a lot of DSAB's going to be able to much more easily and safely, and with the help of all these other agencies, come alongside and be able to provide much more assistance and be able to, just be able to provide much more assistance. So it sounds actually like a really good thing. I think it will be a good thing as it moves forward. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. More good news.
Mm-hmm.
We're on a roll. Any other matters arising? Okay. Item 18, report of the CAO. Mr. Hunt.
Thank you. Just a few things to touch on tonight. As far as COVID goes for Municipality of McDougall, all the staff remains at work. Everybody's operating in a safe manner. Our door is locked to the public. All our doors are locked to the public in all our buildings, actually. We've consulted with all the staff. All the staff are happy to keep coming to work, so we're going to continue on the same basis we have since March. We do have some extra screening measures in place, and we have an emergency plan that was required. That's all been done. All the staff are aware of all their own emergency measures. And the ECG group meets regularly to keep up on any changes from the province. So on that front, I think we're doing quite well and have for some time, and hopefully that continues. As you know, a couple weeks ago, we did take ownership of the Nobel Church property. I have been looking around there. If anybody has any ideas or thoughts that they'd like to have researched or looked into, let me know. I am poking around up with a few things myself, so if anybody has something in mind, or if the public has come to them and made any kind of request for something they'd like to see there, it'd be nice to see what those things are. And as the treasurer said earlier, we are working on budgets, and I am looking at capital projects for 2021. And hopefully COVID cooperates and we can continue with our capital works program. I will let you.
Sorry, you lost Dale. You lost Mayor Robinson.
We lost Mayor Robinson, so we'll just stop for a second. Yeah, his screen's been freezing up a bit all night there.
Here he comes.
We're just waiting for you to sign back in, Mayor Robinson.
Yeah, I just switched from my trusty old IBM laptop to my iPad. Just give me a second. The screen that I want to look at here. There we go.
Yeah, I'm not sure where you left out at. Did you hear some of the comments on the church?
Nope.
No, okay. Okay, so as you know, we took control of the church a few weeks ago. I have been looking around at a few things that happen in there, and I'm looking for any comments or input from staff and council. If council's heard from anybody in the public who has a desire to see the building used or outfitted in a certain way for any specific programs or projects, it'd be nice to have those on the table so we can figure out how we're gonna, renovate or upgrade the building. Even the smallest thing to the biggest thing, it'd be nice to have everything on the table so I can kind of know what I'm looking forward to. I will let you know that the CAO pool committee has been busier of late with trying to get the other municipalities up to date on some of the stuff that we've been working on for the last year. A lot of emails, a lot of phone calls, trying to get some of the smaller municipalities up to date on all of the facts that went in with the funding application. So a lot of questions, going to be lots of more questions, I think, yet to come from the smaller municipalities. So look forward to see how that goes over the next couple of weeks. Other than that, things in public works and the landfill seem to be working fairly smoothly. I did hear from Sudbury today from the company working on our compactor for the landfill. The engine is installed. It is up and running now. The fire suppression system is reinstalled and back up and running. It had to have some work done on it as well. So the machine is headed to the paint booth here probably tomorrow. And they're not guaranteeing, but we should have our machine back in 2 weeks. So that's good news. That'll give us some relief at the landfill, especially for the loader and the other equipment out there. Nice to have that back and we can get caught up. So that was a big ticket item. We still don't know what the bottom of the bill is yet. I know it's big. We'll have to see what the damage was at the end of the day. Anyway, we are getting it back. To replace that machine is $850,000. So it's not something we want to replace anytime soon. So other than that, things are going well. Staff is healthy and safe, and we'll carry on the way we are for the next 2 weeks.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from council? Councilor Ryman?
Thank you, Worship. I was just wondering if there at some point in time, if who's ever interested could get in and just have a look inside the church. If that's possible, not right away, just at some point in time. Thank you.
I think Mr. Hunt offered at the last council meeting, said that there were keys in the municipal office. So I'm pretty sure that offer still stands. Mr. Hunt, if you can respond to Councilor Ryman.
Yeah, it absolutely does. Keys are here. I don't mind meeting on site to meet you there, or you can come pick up the key and have a look yourself. So I'm open to whatever you're comfortable with. So let me know when you have time, and I'll make time.
Okay. So yeah, my apologies. I didn't pick it up the last meeting. Thank you.
I guess just a question on that. We have the grant application in, I think, for $100,000, which we were going to allocate towards the church upgrading. I'll stop calling it a church now, I guess. Whatever the name is going to be, McDougall Nobel Rec Center. Any update on the status of that? Or are those guaranteed funds?
No status. I think the announcement was to be sometime around the end of March. So we got a little ways to go yet before we hear about funding.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I mean, that was a great asset to be able to add that to our facilities that we have. It's unfortunately with everything going on with COVID and that, we haven't given it as much attention as we should, although I know staff, and particularly Mrs. West, spent a lot of time in terms of getting us to this stage with it, but it will get its recognition in due time.
Agreed.
There's no other questions on that report. Then item 19, general items and new business. Nope. Okay, move on to bylaws. Council will now consider bylaw number 2021-01. There you go. First bylaw of the new year. First of many. Being a bylaw to declare to be surplus, stop up and close and sell part of the original shore allowance laid out along the shore of Bell Lake in front of lot 20 in concession 8 in the geographic township of McDougall, designated as part 2 on 42R-9160 for Evans, St. Jens. To the clerk, please provide the manner in which notice of proposed bylaw was given and if any written correspondence was received on this matter. Mrs. West.
Notice of the proposed bylaw was given by advertising in the Parry Sound North Star for 4 consecutive weeks, as well as posting on the municipal website and bulletin board. No written correspondence was received.
Thank you. We'll now proceed with the bylaw then. We're clear to proceed with the bylaw?
Yes, please.
Yep. Okay. Bylaw number 2021-01, moved by Councillor Constable, second by Councillor Gregory, that bylaw number 2021-01, being a bylaw to declare to be surplus, stop up, close, and sell part of the original shore road allowance laid out along the shore of Bell Lake in front of lot 20 and concession 8 in the geographic township of McDougall, now in the municipality of McDougall, in the district of Parry Sound, designated as part 2 on 42R-9160 for Evans and St. Jens, be introduced and read a first and second time. Discussion? All those in favor? It's carried. Pleasure of council, give this third and final reading. Moved by Councillor Malat, second by Councillor Ryman, that bylaw number 2021-01 be read a third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Final discussion. All those in favor? It's carried. Bylaw 2021-02. Moved by Councillor Ryman, seconded by Councillor Malat, that bylaw number 2021-02 being a bylaw to provide for an interim tax levy, to provide for the payment of taxes, and to provide for penalty and interest be introduced and read a first and second time. Discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Sure, council wants to give this third and final. Moved by Councillor Constable, second by Councillor Gregory, that bylaw 2021-02 be read a third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Final discussion. All those in favor? It's carried. More so, I'm sure the treasurer wants to see this signed. Bylaw 2021-03, moved by Councillor Ryman, second by Councillor Constable, that bylaw number 2021-03 being a bylaw to establish remuneration and expenses for members of council and local boards and committees and employees on authorized municipal business, and to repeal bylaw 2019-63 be introduced and read a first and second time. Discussion? All those in favor? It's carried. Pleasure of council to give this third and final. Moved by Councillor Gregory, second by Councillor Malat, that bylaw number 2021-03 be read a third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Final discussion. All those in favor? It's carried. Resolution 2021-04, moved by Councillor Gregory, second by Councillor Malat, the bylaw number 2021-04 being a bylaw to enter into an agreement with the Perry Sound Public Library, the provision of library services being introduced and read a first and second time. Discussion? All those in favor? It's carried. Pleasure of council to give this third and final. Moved by Councillor Ryman, second by Councillor Constable, that bylaw number 2021-04 being read a third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Final discussion. All those in favor? Carried. Tracking sheet, no items for the tracking sheet tonight. Closed session, there are a couple items for closed session tonight. Moved by Councillor Constable, second by Councillor Ryman, be resolved the next portion of the meeting be closed to the public at 8:03 p.m. my time, in order to address a matter pertaining to item 2, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal employees or local board employees. Item 3, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board. All those in favor? It's carried.
Just taking a moment. Okay.
All right, welcome back, everyone. We now move back into open session. Ratification of matters from closed session. One is that the clerk is authorized to proceed with the property issue for the individual involved as per the manner recommended by the clerk. Item 2 is council was brought up to date in terms of a workplace respect committee having been formed. On to the confirmation bylaw, moved by Councillor Lott, second by Councillor Constable, that bylaw 2021-05 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the committee council meeting held on January 20th, 2021 be introduced and read a first and second time. All those in favor? It's carried. Moved by Counselor Gregory, second by Counselor Ryman, that bylaw 2021-05 be read a third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Final discussion. All those in favor? It's carried. Moved by Counselor Ryman, second by Counselor Constable, that we do now adjourn at 9:28 PM. All those in favor? Carried. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.